Okay, so what I got today is my Nintendo 64 I got from a friend. I bought an RGB kit from Tim Worthington, I think, and it does RGB output for the Nintendo 64. I thought since I don't have anything really going on, I might as well make a video on me doing this. So what we got is the main board for outputting RGB once you hook it up. It comes with a smaller FPC ribbon connector. If you have like a newer Nintendo 64 like I do, these fantastic semi-transparent shells, I think. NS2903 blah blah blah. These are the newer ones. The older ones have other options as well, but if you have a newer console, it wasn't too easy until this kit was made available. This developer modder is based in Australia, but thankfully has a US distributor. I'll try and put links to this in the description for anyone to check out who might be interested in doing something like this. So let's get this taken apart. Okay, so the next thing I need to do is get this tiny little flex ribbon. Need to line up the pins on the ribbon, of course, with the IC there. And there's double-sided tape on the back of this ribbon to hold it in place, so I need to align that and then run solder from the ribbon to the chip. Might be off camera while I do this. Okay, I believe that is that. I just need to start it off with solder and get this soldered on. What I'm doing is testing each of the pins on here to the pads on the FPC ribbon and making sure that there's continuity there. When there's continuity, you hear a beep. Just checking each one to make sure that the top of the pin on the IC is where I'm touching on here and the pad have continuity. Everything's good. I'm also checking the neighboring pin and pad to make sure that they're not bridged, because sometimes when you do these finer pitch kind of soldering jobs, you can have a little bit of solder bridging to the next pin, and you don't want to do that. I was kind of confused because this lists first pad on here doesn't go to the first pin, it goes to the second pin, so it kind of threw me off a little bit. The first one is ground. I prepped my wonderful pride ribbon that was given to me. I snipped in between with the flush cutters and then use the wire strippers on the ends. That way I can get some exposed wire. I twist them just out of habit. I don't know if that's orthodoxy or not. I just do it because it's a habit of mine. what I need to do next is use a little bit of a flux. I need to get these wires, I think it's only 12. I need to get 12 of these wires onto that FPC ribbon. Let's see. Nice, okay. Just one by one going down the line. Okay, I want to stop because this is probably not very interesting to watch, and I think the point is crossed for the most part. Okay, now we are on the back side of the motherboard, and this is the AV port up here. I need to isolate some of these pins for RGB, and I could use the supplied ribbon. There's extra wires here just for whatever you need. I don't like the mylar wire that much. I think I'm going to stick with my tried and true silicone coated. It's way more agreeable. It's easier to work with in my opinion, so I need to get some of those strands worked out, but I wanted to go over some of these pins here. So pin number 1 is R for the, hey, can you focus? Pin number 1 is R for the RGB spectrum red. Then you got green. And number 3 is sync. At least on mine it is when I hook it up. I think on the Funtastic one, or one of the newer models of Nintendo 64, this pin may go to nothing, at least from the tutorial I've watched and looked at. This is a pin for nothing. I think on the website for Tim Worthington's kit, he wants you to connect to V for video. But the reason I'm going to be connecting to this pin instead of the V for video is my HD Retrovision cables that I'm using for my Super Nintendo that I also want to use with this. I need to match the signal output. So I'm going to be connecting my sync to pin 3 here. And then across from it, pin 4 is blue. And then the next 2 ones right here, they're labeled G for ground. Okay, I think I got all the colors I need. Thankfully, the silicone wire kit, holy crap. The wind is like nuts out there. I'm right-handed. And the reason I'm telling you that and why it matters is it's always good to work from left to right for me. Tin my wire here. Also tin the pin. Just want some fresh solder on there. Yeah, boy. Alright, so the next thing we need to do is take a look at this top RF shield and also heatsink. This, I believe it's this section here. We need to trim that out. Because of the wires that we have going, this would interfere, so I'm gonna do my best to snip and rip this out. Going terrible. I thought my snips were sharper. Okay, it's better to bend it. Don't do what I'm doing. Just pinch that to flatten it back out, but I'm gonna take to this with a file to make up for my sins here, so yeah, it might be better just to bend that out of the way. Now I gotta deal with this jagged edge. God, I feel so stupid. And yes, I filed it down, but I want to make sure that my wires aren't going to be unintentionally like cut on this thing. Alright, I think that should work. We're trying to route the ribbon wires from the main board around to this heatsink area where we're going to put this somewhere around here roughly. And there's a backing on there with some adhesive. I just want to make sure that the wires, when they get routed, they're not going to be like sawn open with this rough edge. It's a lot better. You know what? I'm going to double. Cut. Ooh, yeah. Just a little bit of funk. Just a little bit of funk, and I love funk, but I don't like it on my console. All right, I think that'll do it. So this main board just kind of hangs out on your heatsink. And now we need to get the main board back in the picture. I think I'm going to sit it in the lower shell. That way we can do the next part. See these labeled DENC, which is the type of ribbon connector we have that we're using. So we need to just match the pads. They're labeled 1 through 12. So we just need to match 1 with 1. 1 starts on the far right side there. Looks like ribbon 1 is white, so I need to tin these pads. I wish I didn't put this in here, actually. I'm going to take this board out, I think. I might. Okay, yeah, so I think I got it kind of organized how I want. I'm just going to run this kind of like that. I don't know if I want to remove the board, but I'm going to skip ahead. I'm going to solder this myself, and then I'll come back to show what we're going to do about these wires. They're going to connect along this area here. So let me get this section, done, and then I'll come back and show you what I did. So I have everything soldered up from the ribbon down here to the main board that I put on the heatsink. I think I want to do something that might be a little dumb. I'm going to put a little bit of high temp hot glue on both of these to seal these connections. This stuff is pretty rigid, but yeah, I don't know. I like putting it on there for a little bit of strain relief and encapsulation. Make sure that everything is good. And also, I may not be explicitly showing it or saying it, but I'm using my multimeter to test continuity from one end to the other to make sure that everything's good. So I'm checking after soldering every time, making sure that the connection is good. So just because you don't see me doing it doesn't mean that I'm not. So it's good practice. I need to get the RGB ground and C-Sync from the pins on the AV connector to the pads over here. So I need to probably measure these out and trim them. I want to run these probably something like that, maybe. Get the pads ready to get the wires trimmed to the length, and then I'll come back after getting that done. Okay, let's check out the end result here. Tilt it in just a little bit. Yeah, I regret putting this board on here before getting this stuff soldered in. So I should have soldered all this stuff and then put the board in. One, because this is a giant piece of aluminum, and when you're soldering to it, it's kind of hard to break the solder because all that heat is getting sunk into this big piece of aluminum. I got the main ribbon soldered on, RGB, starting with blue, green, red, ground, C-Sync, all wired in. I think this may be it. There are some features on this board here. Let me try and move this out of the way. You can kind of see there are some jumpers on here. I probably should have went over them before I soldered, but I don't need them because I have a North American console. I think if you have like a European console, there's some jumper pads that you can jump for your use case. I'm using a North American console, so I don't really need to mess with anything. Everything is fine in its stock format for this board. There is one more thing that I do want to do, and that's to swap out this power LED down here with an RGB one. I mean, why not? Alright, I have the power LED in there. I think I'm done. Let's give this a test once I get everything buttoned back up. Okay, I am back. I needed to fix something that I noticed when I did this mod. My first game that I tried out was Kirby 64, and it looked great. But then I put in The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time, and it did not look great. There was some like black horizontal jail bars going on. And if you don't know what jail bars are, they're like dark spots or dark lines on your monitor. And I have an HD TV, and I kind of thought that was maybe the reason, is that I was getting a much clearer signal maybe, and it was producing jail bars for some reason, but done a little reading, and it seems that other people have had this issue as well, and they suggested taking a ground wire, like so, for the top here, and wrapping it around one of the screws for the heatsink. The heatsink is, I think, it's kind of pinched on the sides of the game, or not the GameCube. It's pinched on the sides of the Nintendo 64 motherboard. There's large exposed ground planes on each side of the board. So as the aluminum heatsink kind of wraps around it and pinches it, it causes a ground between the motherboard and this heat sink. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just take this screw off here, just a little bit. I've exposed a large section of this wire here. I've pulled back the, let me zoom in just a little bit. There's a lot going on, so it might be kind of hard to focus here, but I'm just gonna undo the screw a little bit. Kind of like what you do with record players. Like when I had a record player, I had a ground connection that I needed to secure, otherwise the audio would sound terrible. This is kind of the same thing, but instead of the audio signal being deteriorated or made worse by not having a stable ground, the video signal is being made unstable by not having a good ground. So I'm hoping with this new ground wire between the main board and the main motherboard of the system, I hope that will make this issue go away. Let me just bust out the... Oh, we got a package. Nice. So I'm testing the ground pad to the heatsink. Well, it's not on the aluminum. I'm kind of glad I didn't put it on the aluminum, but where's the ground on? You can see the ground plane back here. Good. Okay, so the mail came in. Got a few things here. S-video cable for Nintendo 64, SNES. I'm going to see how this compares to the component cables I got from HD Retrovision. I don't think they'll be as good, but I just wanted to test that out. EverDrive for the Super Nintendo. Nice, okay. And then, to make my Super Nintendo and Nintendo 64 look good on my HD TV, I have a Retrotink that I bought. Oh, it comes with cables. That's pretty nice. Well then, why did I did not know that they provided a Nintendo-style connector with S-video. That's really interesting. But I'm pretty excited to give this all a test out later on. But I need to get my Nintendo 64 button back up after the mod fix that I just did, and then be able to test everything out. Alright, so I am done with the mod and everything's working great. I don't think the results are going to come through very well on my
phone camera,
but the system turned out great. I thought it'd be a little more easy to see the mod, but unless you're looking for it, it's kind of difficult.